The struggle is real when you have to provide a fresh and innovative review of a film that's been reviewed by basically everyone on YouTube while it's on track to become one of the biggest hits for Sony at a time when Christopher Nolan produced a movie about the most important story in Western civilization, and it's not doing half bad either.
With great power comes great responsibility.
What can I actually say that you haven't heard from the most important people in this space, which of course is Jeremy Johns, Nerdrotic, and Critical Drinker. I don't have a super cool leather jacket, nor have I been to jail before, and I don't cuss and drink a lot. Whatever can one do to offer something to hungry audiences that want to know if this movie is worth your time? Well, I guess the best I can do is save you a little bit of it and just say, yes, this film is worth your time. It's good. Everything that you've heard about this movie is true, and I can synthesize what everybody else has already said. Tom Holland is at his best in this movie, even though Jean Grey, as the bad guy, doesn't really work, and there's a bunch of plot holes to complain about, not the least of which is that Spider-Man wants to yet again give mercy to the villain who has likely killed hundreds of people rather than to bring her to justice. The movie is busy, and the plot sometimes is convoluted as a result of that, but the story is ultimately good. And we'll get back to why that word, good, is so important. But this movie gives comic book fans what they want, and the idea to rip comic book covers and make them front and center in the film was brilliant. It's a clearer way to signal that you want to give the customer what they want. Weird. And that's a breath of fresh air. There's no gender bending, there's no girl bosses, there's no emasculating the main character and making him sidelined, and there's no James Gunn anywhere around to make this movie goofy and obnoxious. But you've likely heard all that before, perhaps, and the only thing you haven't heard is a clear and concise explanation of why good films matter. And when I say good, I mean the Aristotelian kind of good, but not to become too fancy. I mean objectively and morally good. So can we just take a step back for a moment and admit that all the fuss over a comic book movie seems ridiculous and maybe even a little self-indulgent when we're talking about something as important as the good for culture? If we weren't living in the most prosperous time in the history of the world, even though people still wish to complain about it, we wouldn't have time to complain about Spider-Man, nor do we have the money to go see it. For that reason, it's easy to overlook Spider-Man and not think that it's really good in this fundamental sense. But I don't think we should. Superhero movies are a part of our culture whether you like it or not. They have become a sort of narrative for life. This is why postmodernists and woke revolutionaries on the left have worked overtime to try to deconstruct all of our films, including superhero films. But in that is a great blessing. There's an acknowledgement that film is fundamental to shaping culture. If they realize it, we should realize it too. And we must never forget it. So even though Spider-Man isn't one of the greatest films of all time, it is important that the heart of the story is good and that it is doing well, because that means it will make an impact on our culture for good. This goes to the whole question of what superhero fatigue really is all about, and something I think people get wrong a lot. And since I can't give you a review of the movie to tell you why, what I can do is I can rant a little bit about why this movie matters. I would argue that it has nothing to do with the fact that people are tired of superhero movies. People are tired of superhero movies being used as a vehicle to be lied to because, surprise Hollywood, no one likes to be lied to.
Gay!
We want our movies to be real and to be honest. We want to be kept in the movie, not taken out of it. We want it to be believable. If there's a message that's going to be preached through the movie, we want the message to be powerful and stirring, and yes, that means non-woke. Nobody's inspired by the rights of men to kiss men or women to act like men. I know there may be some who disagree with me on some of these factuals, but what I'm trying to argue is that if a movie is to be good, it must be aspirational and redemptive in a universal way, not that caters to a specific agenda. And this strikes at the heart of what's really wrong with woke movies. There's nothing aspirational in them because there is no hero's arc in the woke agenda. So follow me on this. The woke agenda is a reliance upon the oppressor versus oppressed narrative. The idea is that you are so perfect and so awesome that you would have everything you need if it weren't for somebody above you pushing you down and keeping you from your destiny. We'll call them the man.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed! Bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh?
The problem with that message is that all that it gives you is a right to do whatever you want to the person you feel is oppressing you, no matter how evil it is. In other words, it doesn't give you personal responsibility. which means it leaves you with no true spiritual or personal development. It leaves you with no evolution as a character. If the struggles heroes face are only external, they will never have to fight the internal battle of the self. And all of us know, if we'll really be honest, that the biggest struggles we face are sometimes the guy that's in the mirror. All of us know that even if we get rid of every bad guy out there, it still wouldn't make the world a better place until we ourselves become the change we want to see in the world.
Yep.
This is why I would argue all good films rely upon a Christian message of ultimate redemption, because all good stories must ultimately be about personal sacrifice and salvation. I realize there may be some controversy in all of that, but understand that this is why movies like Spider-Man Brand New Day work. They offer audiences an external battle and an internal battle and hope in the midst of it all. There's one last thing about this that I think is important too. Even though we live in one of the most self-indulgent times in the history of the world, it's good for us to escape reality every once in a while. Woke movies also do a horrible job of this. Woke movies take the agendas of our culture. They destroy the stories that we love and twist them and pervert them. And they slap you over the head with them rather than to give you something different than we see on the news. Because we are spiritual beings, we long for something more than what we see. And movies provide a bit of an escape so that we can dream for just a little bit. They allow our imaginations to run wild. Escapism is bad if it causes you to lose personal responsibility and not to come back to the real world. But of course, if our hearts yearn while we're escaping for just a moment to make this world a better place, then the movie ultimately becomes redemptive and useful for culture. Again, telling audiences they have everything they need except for some mysterious bad guy is hollow, and we all know it. We all know that if we get rid of a certain orange man bad, or if you want to talk on both sides, it's a lie when people tell us that if we get rid of that senile old man, everything will be better. The best movies realize this by giving us an escape beyond the bad guys and into a world that we can dream about. They take us into a world that helps us visualize and dream of something more. One person called it spiritualized imagination. I'll give it a much more simple term. Escapism becomes faith when the movie calls us to dream of a reality beyond our current life. Now, for all of that poetic, if I do say so myself, phrasing, I don't mean to suggest that Spider-Man Brand New Day does this or that it's the greatest film you'll see this summer. I just mean to tell you that it gets two things right. It gets personal responsibility and escapism right. I hope that helps, and I hope it informs your viewing experience. I honestly think if you look for films that speak to your need in these two areas, you'll do yourself a favor and your family, and you'll surround yourself with films that will make your life better. And with that in mind, I do have to mention that outside of an egregious amount of cussing that makes this movie impossible for my 12-year-old to watch and can't really be called family-friendly, I would say that the movie still is good. But Sony execs, if you are listening, please do us all a favor and please cut back a little bit. It's a Spider-Man movie, for crying out loud. 15 S words and a smattering of a bunch of other expletives seems a little unnecessary. But moving away from those who aren't watching, let me get back to those who are. And let me just say this. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out the recommended video on the screen, YouTube, and I know you'll love it. But most importantly, go with God.